Last time out in what turned out to be a big test for the championship favorites, Matthew Thunhorst put his staple on the title fight. He took home his 4th victory of the season, helped break away from the rest of the pack. But the big question on everyone's minds is simple. Can he keep it up? We're about to find out on the Global SimRacing Channel. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to iRacing's virtual Lanier Raceplex for the 8th race of Season 7 for the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series, presented by Gargamel's Kitchen. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside of the booth tonight is Devin Henry, behind-the-scenes art director Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Now, today brings us to a track which has gone from dirt track to pavement track, and from operational to non-operational, back to operational in its 39-year history. Let's learn more about it with our GSRC track guide.
Lanier National Speedway, now known as Lanier Raceplex, finally started seeing racing again here just a few years ago. Before the track went silent in 2011, it was a common feature on touring short track series schedules across the southeastern United States. From super late models, street stocks, and legends, they all were here. The Whelen Modified Tour and ARCA even made some stops here as well. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, the Grand National Series, now Xfinity Series, made 5 stops here. The last, 1992, won by eventual NASCAR Cup Series champion and fellow iRacer Bobby Labonte. The track has since reopened and been given a facelift. Nowadays, mostly go-karts and legend cars takes their turn around this facility, but occasionally, the rumble of V8s can be heard, and not just at nearby Road Atlanta, as super late models have raced around Lanier as recently as November of 2019 as a prelude to that year's Snowball Derby in Pensacola. Enjoy today's race.
That was a look at your GSRC track guide for the Lanier Raceplex. Now, Devin, this is a track that's also been a series favorite and a series test maker, so to speak, because it's a track where attrition can come into play, but is also one where you need to be near perfect on your marks.
And I would call it a service favorite as well. It's free both on dirt and here on the asphalt side. And like you said, you gotta hit your marks. It is a very unique track in the fact that, boy, you can really blitz the entry to the corners of this 3/8 miles track. If you can really dig it into turn number 1, you can gain so much speed, really get on the brakes and carry that through the center of the corner, get back on the gas. The problem here, well, we'll get to that in a moment when it comes to saving that right front rubber. But as you mentioned earlier, Justin, a track that's gone by many names in many different forms, opened back in 1982, paved into the quote-unquote current configuration, if you will, back in 1987. Racing was suspended in 2011 until Jim Downing, a road racer, bought it in 2014, and now it's just a black pond, no inside walls or anything. So we are on the 1987 through 2011 configuration, if you will. And these are the ARCA Menard Series Impalas. It's not like current ARCA, but the ARCA Menard Series did run here once back on May 28th, 2005. That race won by David Reagan.
Very notable name indeed, with a lot of history in the highest levels of NASCAR action. Funnily enough, Raceplex today is actually not just a go-kart track, but it ended up hosting 4 Legends Car Race Series events back in July, as well as some various Arrive and Drive go-kart series. Now, this series is presented by Gargamel's Kitchen. Gargamel's Kitchen is a food-grade nitrous oxide provider located in Denver, Colorado, and a proud sponsor of the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series. Visit their office at 2045 South Valentia Street. Give them a call at 720-707-6178. As talked about off the top of the show, Matthew Thunhorst is in control of the championship, albeit with a small advantage over Justin Morton. It's 3 points now, with Thunhorst being the wins leader this season, 4 on the trot. Morton with 1 in second spot in the standings. J.R. Shepherd leads every series that takes place on Saturday nights for Bootleg Racing League action, except for this one this season. He's 4 points behind with 2 victories. Austin Belke gained a little bit of ground back on the rest of the competitors with a decent finish inside the top 4 in the standings, 14 points behind. Bruce Pearson, Todd Liston are tied for 5th in the standings, 212 points apiece. That's 61 points behind. That could be still up for grabs all the way to the final week of the season. And speaking of the racing details that go through from week to week, Devin, let's take a peek towards your race details for tonight.
We are already to round number 8 of an 11-race season, and you just saw the points. We are as tight as it has ever been this late in the year. As always, for every Bootleg Racing League Grand National Series event, 100 laps tonight and no tire changes. I mentioned, yeah, you can blitz these corners, but there will be plenty of internal negotiation tonight on what you need to do to conserve that right front tire moving on throughout the night. Although it is short track racing, so if you do get into trouble, there is one mulligan, a single fast repair for each driver, and also no qualifying either. You're seeing practice right now. Our grid is set from last week's finishing order, and we invert the top 8 from our last event.
Going to be very interesting as a result with that grid, especially how important the track position could be at this hole of a racetrack, 0.38 miles once more. But drivers are in the midst of their final preparations and practice. 6 minutes remaining in the session. Track conditions today very hot. 87 degrees Fahrenheit air temp, just like the number of Todd Liston, with 91 degrees Fahrenheit your track temperature. And it just so happens to be J.R. Shepherd who has the quickest time in session, a 14.290, 5/1000, second quicker than Jason Mendez, 14.295. Matthew Thunhorse, Justin Morton, Brian Dean round out the top 5 on the practice board. Take a look at J.R. Shepherd. He's had a good history here at this racetrack, Devin, but of course this year has been his biggest test, with Matthew Thunhorst and Justin Morton both picking up their speed, with Thunhorst being very quick everywhere and Morton really finding ways to find his way to the very front of the field, especially early.
J.R. Shepherd has been the undisputed king of the Grand National Series and, well, a few other series, with his more than 50 combined total championships in the Bootleg Racing League. But it was very obvious once this league changed up their setups now made by Matthew Thunhorst, it just didn't fit J.R. Shepherd's driving personality. He doesn't look as configured, as comfortable, particularly late in long runs, as he did previously. Granted, he's still ending up on the podium. Last week, he had to overcome so much adversity to find himself in a good position to not lose a bulk load of points. He continues to strive and make good strides to become a better racer under these setups. Could a night like tonight and a track like tonight be where he pushes through, finally figures out that setup, and begins that final little push to grab the championship? We all know during race times, he somehow flips the switch, and all of a sudden, boom, he puts on the afterburners and he launches off. Could this be the race where he does it figuratively in the points battle as well?
Keep in mind, with the invert, he'll have good track position for tonight's action in theory. Under 4 minutes to go in session. On board now with Justin Morton. He's one of the competitors who has had some adventures here in the past. And keep in mind that there are 2 drivers who incurred penalties last race. Shane for squeezing their car into the outside wall when situational awareness was given a warning. Kurt Smith ended up getting a loss of 5 points and will start at the back of this race as a result of getting into the corner too hot and causing an incident. But as you can see, with that VR, could be very easy to get disorientated around this racetrack, especially with the preferred line being around the bottom of the racetrack in theory, Devin.
Justin Morton, a 5-time victor in the Grand National Series. He can find his way to victory lane. Won a single time so far this year, but here in this season, he has looked so smooth and so comfortable. He continues to gain consistency. And as you mentioned, Justin, you see these drivers really ripping the bottom part of that track. And you're able to kind of put your left side tires on that yellow line, particularly on the apex of the corner, and blast off on corner exit. Now you can use that little bit of apron. It does change banking a little bit more than its regular progressive lookingness, and it kind of helps the car turn. And you know, with VR, I've never tried it. I doubt I will. I flip too much. I would get sick just from the amount of barrel rolls that I'm sure that I would end up having to do. But you do get that opportunity to turn your head, you know, besides the regular iRacing default 45 degrees. So I'm curious if he might have an advantage of understanding situational awareness when it comes to where is the bottom of the track. But as you mentioned, very easy to still get disorientated, because it's almost like when you're in VR, you kind of have tunnel vision, right? Because it's not a real life cockpit that you're sitting in. At the end of the day, it's still a screen. Your head and your virtual eyes move with you, but you still have to find a way to compose yourself and stay comfortable in the cockpit at the same time.
And the terrifying part about that too, Devin, is when you lose was that sense of feel with the VR side of things. It's so easy to in turn make mistakes and or drive yourself to the wall, which has happened a couple times when you've lost that sense. But you talked about it a little bit in terms of saving tires. That could be very critical tonight.
Yeah, and there's so many parts of this track where sometimes I look at a track like, say, if you're going to the Cup Series with the Cup Series cars to, let's say, Auto Club or something, it's seen as an quote-unquote easier track just because there's not quite as many technical points. And when you come to one of these bull rings, obviously, corner entry and corner exit are very vital. But when you come to a track that's less purely technical, like you would your common road course, every individual mark that you have to meet is more important to hit, and it becomes more difficult to do it at a high level, lap in and lap out. Riding on board with Todd Liston, you see just how short these straightaways are. You grab the apex, you blast off a 2, and you float up to the wall almost all the way to the start-finish line. It's so easy to get on the gas on exit. You're anticipating a great amount of speed that you're trying to carry down through the straightaway, and the car floats up and you scrape the wall. And here at Lanier, that little scrape, that little bump, can flail your car flying to the left side of the track. If there's anyone under you, they're going to be collected in an incident. And then it almost feels like the car picks up. It becomes so much lighter when you kind of bounce off the wall and you have to find a way to strain yourself out. We've seen this at numerous short tracks this season. We've seen it at Lanier as well. Being able to control the car on corner exit, not just making sure that the rear end stays under you, I should say, but also making sure that you don't run into the wall on exit. Very vital to making sure you have a clean race here at Lanier.
These drivers are all set to go after a very competitive practice session. 4 drivers went under the 14.2s on their speed charts, but it's Adam Shane who will bring them to the green flag today, with the invert. Lowell Jewell starts in second, with very valuable track position for Jason Menda and J.R. Shepard in row 2, 3rd and 4th, respectively. Austin Belke starts in 5th today, with Justin Morton, Matthew Thunhorst rounding out the inversion spots. Brian Dean in 8th position. An inversion, in part based on attendance. Todd Liston and Ryan Seneca round out your top 10.
The Pittsburgh Principal lines up in P11. Chris Wolfson alongside him is Bruce Pearson. Joe Segala joins us from the 13th position tonight alongside the always Mark Martin throwback of Kurt Smith. Donnie Moore and Mike Holloway make up your 16-car field here at Lanier.
Let's look top to bottom at your running order for tonight in sim time. Just approaching 9 p.m. Track conditions, 87 degrees Fahrenheit. Air temp, 89 degrees Fahrenheit is the track temperature. That is down from practice, with it cooling off a touch bit. Winds currently gusting 8 to 9 miles per hour to the northwest. That is currently facing the banking in turns 3 and 4. And as Kurt Smith gets his into blunt, so I'm penalty to shuffle him to the back of the field. What are your keys to victory tonight, Devin, if you want to take the checkered flag here?
First and foremost, you got to take care of the rear tires here tonight. We talked so much about the right front, but this track is known in the modern day as being a drifting track in their black pond format. Make sure that you're not drifting yourself here on this old school configuration. Keep it under you. And yeah, like I said, don't hit the wall. It's bad.
Hitting the wall is not good, let's put it that way. As the green flag is out, we're underway from Lanier. Adam Shane with a great start. Jason Menda trying to clear on by for second. J.R. Shepard trying to find a hole behind the 10.
And I'm thinking tonight might be a race where you can utilize the outside lane. Now, Lowell Jewell on the outside, first row, if you will, unable to maintain a little bit of a run on Jason Menda as the 45 Havoline machine takes over the second position. But, you know, the weather isn't terrible tonight. You can really utilize speed, particularly once the tires wear off. I'd be intrigued to see who can utilize that outside lane here.
Justin Morton trying to utilize it behind this train of cars. The bottom line has opened up for Shepard. As a result of a checkup from Austin Belke, Morton now just about clear as well to get himself to the bottom. Does not take it, though, into turn 1. But Adam Shane is already pulled away by 0.6 of a second as this has all gone on. Morton still stuck on the high side with the 24 hanging on the quarter panel.
And right behind Austin Belke, Matthew Thunhorse in that Army-looking green number 8 machine, the olive green, if you will. Your current points leader, but a slim margin over J.R. Shepard and Justin Morton. Shepard now to the inside of Lowell Jewell, taking away that third position. The 98 machine making his trek up to the front.
Open up quickly from Lowell Jewell. J.R. Shepard able to jump through it. Already a few laps into the race, Morton following suit. Austin Belke looking to follow the choo-choo train as Jewell nearly came across his front nose trying to slam the door. And Lowell Jewell may get shuffled all the way back to 7th in the span of about 5 laps.
Yeah, okay, so the outside lane is still a little bit treacherous right now. You do want to find that inside. Looking on board here with Austin Belke. Driver of the number 24 machine always has that Jeff Gordon throwback as Jewell continues to hold on to that outside lane. Thunhorse taking a peek, able to get there. Slamming the doors, Belke, and he will hold on to that 5th position.
That bottom line seems very critical. You see the face inflections from Austin Belke trying to hold on to that 5th position. Matthew Thunhorse losing ground as a result of all this. They have lost 3-4 car lengths already to Justin Morton and the rest of the lead pack.
And this is a point where, okay, we've had some long green flag runs in this league previously. Do you need to blitz right now and get yourself that extra little ump to find those guys out front? Or you know what, maybe I just need to keep settling in, keep holding on to that rhythm, and let a caution come. I'll get back to these guys somehow. I've made the moves that I needed to make. Now you just have to find that rhythm, work your way up.
Old Joe has lost the bottom. He's seen the backdrop by the way. He is let by just about everybody in the next conga line of cars. That included Liston, Dean, Wolfson, Seneca, Moore, and several more as he has now dropped nearly all the way to the very back of the field. Back towards the front, the top 6 separated by about 1.5 seconds. And now Belke starting to reel in this group as Shane is starting to lose ground. I've noticed that 65 is taking a slightly different line on corner exit, a little bit lower. And he's actually losing ground with that lower line compared to the errors down the back and that higher line down the front.
Gargamel's Kitchen Machine leading the first 14 laps of this race, but a very hungry Jason Menda behind him. The 25-year firefighting veteran gets punted to the top lane, though. J.R. Shepard looking for P2.
Shepard poked his nose right underneath that quarter panel now, looking to rip it away from Menda. Nearly the slide, comes up across his nose, sends Menda up out of the group. Justin Morton takes advantage to take away 3rd. Menda not giving up easily, nearly hit the quarter panel of the 9 now, as Austin Belke and Matthew Thunhorse have caught back up from this.
Boy, this is the most lethal conga line I've ever seen. The top 4 in points, hoping to absolutely railroad by the 45 of Menda. He will slide in just in front of Belke, though, salvage the 4th position. And you can see the 98 going very low on the track. So he starts high, cuts down low, gets the left sides on the apron, all the way on the apron, 4 tires that time, able to get to the inside of Shane. Shepard looking for P1.
You talk about wanting to take away the lead aggressively. That's one of the best ways to describe it there. Diving all the way to that apron and now looking to rip away the race lead. This time by Shepard gets the lead lap. But Shane's not giving up easily. As well, Matthew Thunhorse, you may have noticed, did use the top line to pass by Belke. He's now nearly trying to dive underneath Menda. Several cars looking to dart the way underneath one another.
And notes taken right there by Thunhorse. It worked. I know a line. Okay, let's see if I can use this knowledge later on. Meanwhile, the 98 machine just hoping to get that rear bumper in front of the clip of Adam Shane. Morton has nothing to do but follow the 98. Shepard this time cleared down the front straightaway. And Justin, I don't think, you know what, I take it back. I've seen only one time someone make a 4-tire move on the apron for the lead at Lanier, and it did not end like that. It was in an official ARCA race. You can only imagine how that went.
Well, Jewel has pulled off the racetrack of note. All of this as well. Shane has been driven underneath by a couple cars now. Morton clear for second. Menda looking to clear by for third with a lot of space from the 65. Thunhorse now to his quarter panel is nearly scraping the wall was Shane. And unless you have a major pace difference, that bottom line has been the king line as Seneca is on the apron.
Yeah, luckily no one was looking to go 4 tires below the apron on that one. That could have been a little nasty. Seneca getting back to pace. We'll take a look back at what happened here on the GSRC replay machine. Darkness filling the life of Ryan Seneca. Very disappointing for the driver of the number 19 machine as he falls 1 lap down.
Unfortunate again for Seneca. Here it is again for Seneca right there. Going after a big slide off of turn 2. He is now at least 1 lap down in this race. Back towards the front. Again, Shepard still holding on to the point, but Morton is keeping the pressure up. Just up the track from this 19 machining company. It's going to be intriguing how this now plays out with so many drivers with so much to prove now in the points.
And again, remember guys, there are no tire changes allowed. The rubber that you start this race in is the rubber that you will finish this race in. We are just over a quarter of the way through this 100-lap event. So you know what? Justin Morton knows that. Very seldom does someone pass J.R. Shepard in the first place, but at the very least, maybe right now we just kind of hang out. You know, let's not burn up the tires. Let's not have to freak out and make a heavy pass for position or for the lead. Settle in, hang out a little bit. There's still 70 to go this time by. If an opportunity comes, take it, but for now, you don't need to force anything.
Should be worth noting that drivers have forced their way underneath Jason Menda, who is loose. Austin Belke touched him just behind this battle for the race lead. We stay green for now, and just as I say that, caution waves. Menda, he was loose for a good 6 corners.
Yeah, I think that he just never really got that car back under him, and unfortunately the number 45 machine will take a tow back onto pit road. We'll see where this all started. The 24 of Austin Belke under him. And the 45, well, he wanted to go to the inside. He had to stand on the brakes late. He really got him out of shape. He kind of gets it back under control. Yeah, that car just never really looked like he got it back in control. Might have used up a lot of tire trying to hold off some of those drivers. And that car just did not look the same in a snap. And all of a sudden, the 45 machine with major issues.
He has already put his car onto the tow truck, so that will mean several lost laps as a result of that incident. So now we are under caution for the first time tonight. Shepard, Morton, Thunhorse, Belke, and Shane, your top 5 here, as the pace car takes some excursions here during the pace laps. That was interesting. The pace car decided to come in for a pit stop.
The pace car must have thought that we were on the modern day configuration where there's no inside wall, but seldom does he know that this is the 2011 version. So I think that he finally kind of got his head back on him. His virtual head is back on him now, and Barney the Flagman went on race control radio, I heard, and said, hey man, we can't have these stunts going on during a race. Look at all these photos going off. Right now, all the flashes in the stands, they're all watching you. That will be on social media, sir.
Well, in all seriousness, the reason the pace car had to go the way it did, and this is one of the first times I've seen it in this configuration. Normally it comes out very quickly, right, with the caution flag, but the pace car here for tonight is parked down the back straightaway. Here's the thing, the pit entry is all the way on the exit of turn 1, or the entry to turn 1, I should say, and you have to drive the whole way around underneath the yellow wall to that inside. You can't go out, say, exit a turn 4 to come out on the racetrack. So it is a slow crawl just to be able to get your way in. For many of the drivers who have to use faster pairs too, that is going to be a talking point which could be a factor for drivers losing laps.
Oh.
This lap, Shepard is on the loud pedal. We're backing away.
Shepard was on the loud pedal so hard the rear axles didn't agree with the tire there, but somehow the 98 is able to pull away the lead. Morton has to give it up. Thunhorse moves into third. Your top 3 in points, top 3 on the track.
And Austin Belke is trying to defend 2 lanes at once. Behind him, Shane and Dean are trying to fight hard for the 5th position. But the top 3 all single file. And now it's the question of how does Shepard fare out now with himself being able to dictate the pace, and we've seen the differences on how these drivers want to handle the race lead. Some want to force you to get on by, others like to try and run away. It's going to be interesting how these drivers handle this tonight.
And 61 laps to go. This is a fixed setup series. 40 laps of green flag racing almost on these tires, and we're going to get to the point of the race where drivers begin to really utilize their own driving preference. Even though it's a fixed setup, everyone will begin to run slightly different variations of their line, not only based on their current tire wear, but just how they drive with said tire wear. So we are going to begin to see drivers really mix up corner entry, maybe start to use that outside lane. We've seen that in previous weeks, Justin, where guys completely abandon the inside lane and move to the outside as the main line. I don't think we'll see that here. But hey, we saw Matthew Thunhorse pass Belke on the outside. Might he find a way if he can catch back up to these top 2, utilize that outside groove and pick up a couple of positions?
I'm curious on that as well. Thunhorse, remember, did use that lineup. Belke as Morton gets dicey in 3 and 4. And Morton had been getting a different line working, trying to use a double apex right before that bobble. He's now gone to the same line as Shepard.
And with 100 laps and the same set of tires, sooner or later you have to find a different line that's going to carry speed and not destroy that right front tire. So whether it's experimenting beforehand, which is being proactive, quite frankly, or the necessity of doing that, sometimes you find spots where you just can't do it. But nonetheless, the 9 and the 8 still reeling back in the 98.
Right now, the lap time pace, for reference sake, 14.784 is from Shepard. Morton last time by a 14.698, a 14.703 for Thunhorse. So the lap times are fairly close amongst those drivers. All those competitors just dropped into the 14.7 bracket last time by. The only other drivers within that range, Austin Belke, who's in 4th, Brian Dean, who's at 8, and Donnie Moore, who's in 9th position. Everyone else, 14.8s on back in terms of pace. As we approach halfway, already 52 to go this time.
And the entire group right now is all single filed. Every car on the track just single filed. I think everyone has found the rhythm necessary to maintain the speed in which they are comfortable with, and probably their maximum speed while trying to conserve that right front. So now we're going to see who conserved tires the best. I'd say probably in about the next 20 laps. We'll see, okay, who did a better job saving tires and has that raw speed on corner exit left over, as the 98, again, just doesn't look comfortable. The rear end whipping out on corner exit. We'll see if that car gets a little bit more demonic as this race continues on halfway through here at Lanier.
At that halfway mark indeed, as they make their way down the back straightaway, Shepard starting to build a touch bit of a buffer these past couple laps. The top 3 have now broken away by almost a second and a half over Belke, Shane, Liston, Hallway, and Dean in their respective group.
You can just see him riding up against the wall, coming out of the exit of the corner. Even these guys right here, you see Todd Liston float up and has to really take a different approach on the throttle, losing some time to Adam Shane, but Shane right now in 5th, Liston getting loose on exit there, able to save it. Holloway wanted to go to the outside, couldn't find it. And everyone's still just single file, and you have to find when is it going to be the right time to make that move. Forcing things at Lanier doesn't always end well.
By the way, Mike Holloway, your biggest mover of the race, up 9 spots, looking for 10. Liston with another bobble with the right rear tire. Gives Holloway the space. Can Holloway complete the pass? He's drifting a little bit off the corner. Just about does, as that opens up the door for Brian Dean to try and break away from the 8th position. Donnie Moore looking for that final inversion spot as well in this grouping, as Liston now starting to lose a lot of positions and quickly here in the 87.
Brian Dean, the Wisconsin driver, a foreman for a tree and landscape company over there, able able to work his way into that 8th position, or excuse me, the 7th position. 7 and 8, remember, those are the invert spots. Whoever finishes 8th is on the provisional poll for next week, and now Donnie Moore looking to take that spot away from Todd Liston. It's not always about where you finish for the points, it's also about where you finish for next week's starting grid.
Now for Todd Liston, he's out of the inversion spots as a result of all those bobbles. Towards the race lead, that's all separated by half a second. They've pulled away by 1.5 plus seconds now to Austin Belke, who has pulled away from the rest of the field as well. And as we look on board from Justin Morton, he tries to settle on into that rhythm. You can see how much he has to bobble that wheel, even just that little bit coming through the corner exits.
Justin Morton, he's a wheel man. You see him seesawing it back and forth, almost 90 degrees through the corner, and you see how quickly he centers up the wheel. Probably about halfway through the corner, he begins to bring that wheel back towards center and lets it float back up to the wall. But out of turn 2, about the last 3 laps in a row, really having to work that wheel, keep it straight while maximizing that momentum down the straightaway. Stay on that rear bumper, the 98.
See, just losing a little bit of ground the past lap or so. Nearly drifted his way towards the inside wall again. Coming up to 38 laps to go in what has been a blazingly quick race tonight from the Lanier Raceplex.
Don't jinx us, Justin. No, I mean, I guess I tried it a few weeks ago when we had back-to-back 100-lap green races, and it didn't work then, but this race is going pretty fast, and I think that is going to upset the rhythm and tempo of some of these drivers because their tire wear is going to just progressively deteriorate as this race continues on. We have some side-by-side racing in the pack, and you can see Justin Morton at the front at maximum speed working that wheel. When you have to bobble your wheel like that, and when you have to race side-by-side with other competitors, as we have here Adam Shane getting loose and out of the groove, that's more tire wear. Every time you have to make an unnecessary jerk to the wheel, that's more tire wear, as Todd Liston taking P8 away back from Donnie Moore to get back to that invert spot in next week's provisional poll.
That's right behind Shane, who's now gathered it up. He has a cushion to that battle you're referring to. That fight you can see in the backdrop is still side-by-side, in fact, with Joe Sagawa also in the mix. A very quiet night for those drivers tonight, indeed. Here we see Mike Holloway continue his ascension to the pack. He is up 11 spots now in this race. He has found a way inside the top 5, one of his best performances all year.
The I-K9 machine out of Midwest City, Oklahoma, putting in a little bit of work. He has a little bit of real-life racing experience, racing mini stocks at Lonesome Pine Raceway, and taking some of that into the real world. I'm curious to see what that tire conservation is, as we will have 31 laps to go here once we come by the line. Does he have maybe a little bit in him to catch up to Austin Belke, the next car in front of him? He has quite a ways to go, though. It's about 4.5 seconds to the 24 machine.
He might need a caution flag or some attrition to build in for things to bundle up for him. Adam Shane has now had a problem. He might have blown a motor on the apron just now. He has rolled his way into the pit entry just now. Adam Shane is off the racetrack, back in 14th now.
Unfortunate for the Gargamel's Kitchen number 65 machine on board. Let's hear if we can see if we can hear anything unusual. Nah, but there was something going on, whether it be driver or car. That machine just looked absolutely chaotic. So Shane decides to pull it in with under 30 laps remaining here at Lanier. And you know what, Justin? J.R. Shepard, he's making a gap. Justin Morton has fallen considerably off the pace as well.
That was the concern with Morton, was the right rear tire. He has had a history at this track in the past of that tire wearing out fairly quickly. Justin Morton is now fallen to 2 seconds behind the race leader, Matthew Thunhorst, 9/10 behind J.R. Shepard, coming up to 25 laps to go. And the only drivers in the 14-second bracket right now in times are Shepard and Holloway as traffic. Hello, that's Bruce Pearson.
Yeah, looking back, Justin Morton was just really getting unsafe on corner entry. The car was really beginning to whip out on him. And so that's how Matthew Thunhorst got by. Just a bad corner entry by Morton, and Thunhorst trying to put that reel in the water, catch the rear bumper of the 98 and reel him on in. But time running out if he does not get a caution. The 98 machine running some really quality laps right now, around 15 flat.
Thunhorst is currently fluctuating that deficit down to about 7/10 here and there, but in clean traffic, Shepard has been able to keep that extended with how he's handled the corner exits. Thunhorst lost a ton of time just now. Coming up to 22 laps to go, he's actually fallen back towards Justin Morton than he's picked up on J.R. Shepard. And it's pretty clear J.R. Shepard wanting to say, you know what? It's time to break my way back through victory lane. This would get him likely second into the standings if things hold the way they are.
And he still needs even more than this, because in the points, it's just one position is 1 point, and he has a few points to make up. I believe it's 4 exactly on Matthew Thunhorst. Shepard looking for his 3rd win of the season, would be his 48th career win over 7 seasons of the Grand National Series. He has work to get done with only 3 races remaining after tonight. Essentially, if he wins every race and Matthew Thunhorst finishes second in every race, we are looking at a tie broken by wins. So Shepard knows it's essentially in a way, it sounds weird being 4 points behind with 3 races to go, is a must win. Every week is a must win.
And so far, it's been looking his type of a night, with Matthew Thunhorst now dropping to 1.2 seconds behind. Meanwhile, Chris Wolfson's been having a very quiet race tonight. He's in 10th position. He's currently looking to gain some spots. Here's his on board. A nice setup for Chris Wolfson. In fact, a very blue room he's in with multiple monitors, and it looks like a laptop.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving the setup. Got the Discord going on the laptop, 3-monitor setup, got the gloves on and everything. Love taking a look at what all these different guys either use, or the steering wheels are all different. Like Austin Belke likes to use this more stereotypical road course wheel, but yeah, you say a quiet night for Wilson right now, sitting in that 10th position, hoping to reel in Todd Liston. So a quiet night, been doing all right though, starting 11th and maintaining a spot inside the top 10.
Leader, keep in mind, is about a quarter of the way back, as Austin Belke, keep in mind, has reeled in Justin Morton, with Morton slipping back up to a 10th a lap, with his pace falling off considerably in these closing stages with this long green flag run with just 1 caution of the night. Here is Belke from on board. He tries to find a way to get to the 9. And for Belke, this would be only a couple times this season where he would have broken into the top 3.
Belke with the old school Superman Jeff Gordon paint scheme tonight. And you know what? Austin Belke, even if he can't go up and try to fight for a championship, came in 14 points behind tonight. These top 3 juggernauts of drivers. It has been such a successful season for Austin Belke, even if he doesn't get into victory lane, which I know he really wants to. Won 2 championships in other series last year, but man, I tell you what, his consistency and his driving style has increased tenfold over the past few seasons. He has been very impressive to watch. Meanwhile, Justin Morton using the outside lane, I don't think intentionally, if you will. We get to see Justin Morton on Friday nights in the Dirt Street Stock Series right here on GSRC2, or I should say as well, GSRC. And, you know, he gets pretty sideways in that Dirt Street Stock, and he's using this Arca Impala like a Dirt Street Stock, the way he's really using that right rear. I say this often, out of all these drivers in this league, he is the guy who typically drives these asphalt cars like a dirt car, moving that wheel around the most. Hold on to it, baby. He's able to hold on, and woo, I think he'll settle for a 4th after just how ridiculous this car's been driving.
Let's take a look. Again, we're under 10 laps to go, and this could have been a very critical caution if he didn't save it. See how much he's already having to put in the wheel right before the moment.
Yeah, you can see that orange marker. It marks the center of the wheel. Look how far right he's going on corner exit. We saw it was pretty bad before. Listen in here. Oh, masterful save there by Justin Morton. Just hoping he can hang on to a 4th place finishing position after this one. But hey, Mike Holloway, he has a chance to pounce here.
All he needs is an error mistake from Morton, and the door might be open with 4 coming up to 3 to go this time. Can Holloway get there is the big question for one of his best finishes of the year, not just this season for the number 2 machine. Got to the back bumper nearly that time. Nearly gets into it once more. He makes his way down the front straightaway with only a couple laps to go.
Your GSRC hard charger, so far it looks like, so long as no horrific thing happens to him. Holloway with a chance here to lock in a top 4 would be a great opportunity for the 2 machine, but would be a catastrophe for Justin Morton. He would really lose a huge chunk of points. Oh, there's a caution, but I think we're past the point of no return. No green-white checkers in this lead.
Either way, that ends off your race with J.R. Shepard taking the white flag this time by. He has to make sure he doesn't pass the pace car. Remember, it can't come out until the entry to turn 1. So he's going as slow as he needs to go. A dominating win for J.R. Shepard. He takes it at the Lanier Raceplex over Matthew Thunhorst and Austin Belke.
An immensely anticlimactic way to cross the finish line. Nonetheless, still didn't look like the comfortable J.R. Shepard that we've seen in previous seasons. Still gets the job done tonight, though. Won this race by about a 1.5 seconds. Great showing by the 98. Could this be the race that he needed to turn things around, try to pick up another BRL championship?
Very impressive performance tonight from J.R. Shepard. The reason for the caution, by the way, was Brian Dean getting loose from 6th position. He did save it, however, did not go fully around. And either way, I think JR is being careful here because in some circumstances, if you pass the pace car, it can potentially be an in-sim penalty. He does not want to take that risk. The pace car finally has pulled off, and now he gets the chance to celebrate here at the Lanier Raceplex. Yet his 48th BRL Grand National Series win overall, and for him, it's his 3rd victory this season. Post-race coverage coming up in just a few moments. You're watching the Global SimRacing Channel live from iRacing's virtual Lanier Raceplex. Welcome back to live coverage of the BRL's Grand National Series, presented by Gargamel's Kitchen, a food-grade nitrous oxide provider located in Denver, Colorado, and a proud sponsor of the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series. Tonight was a very proud race for its Grand National Series, and what was a 2-caution affair, one towards the end of the race, that ended in a yellow for J.R. Shepard to take home win number 3 of the season. Matthew Thunhorst finished in 2nd, Austin Belke in 3rd, with Justin Morton drifting his way to 4th. Mike Holloway with a big charge for the field. How about double-digit positions gained to finish in 5th? with Brian Dean triggering the final caution of the night. He finished in 6th. Donnie Moore, Joe Sagawa, Chris Wolfson, and Todd Liston, your top 10 tonight.
Finishing in P11 was Ryan Seneker, one lap downfall by Kurt Smith and Bruce Pearson. Adam Shane, Jason Menda, and Lowell Jewell round out the 16-car field here at Lanier.
Very strong night for our championship contenders. Again, your top 4 in points, top 4 finishing drivers in tonight's action. A very intriguing race overall, to say the very least, but in the end, J.R. Shepard has another W to his campaign, and he's now standing by from victory lane. JR, win number 48 of your career in the Grand National Series, win 3 of the season to put yourself back in the championship hunt after losing a few points from an up and down night. Last time out, how are you feeling with the great rebound race in dominating fashion, in fact, tonight?
Yeah, feeling pretty decent after that. Struggled definitely for a few races this season. And yeah, I don't even know where the points are. I'm not even looking at them, just trying to have some enjoyment here and try to go for some wins. So I'm a little bit surprised that was able to get to the front as early as we were. And I figured Justin was going to be extremely strong there. I was trying to save my tires by the way I was driving the entry of the corner, and I'm not sure what happened to him. I saw him fall off there, and once Matt got in 2nd place, I figured it was just a matter of time before he'd catch me.
You actually pulled away from him by about a half a tenth to a tenth a lap in the closing stages right before the final caution flag of the night. How was it trying to make sure you got those tires saved, especially with the different setups compared to last time out at Lanier for this series?
Yeah, it's definitely a change, but this track's always challenging through the center of the corner. Tends to get tight through the center. And depending on how you drive the track, you can get really loose going in or really loose coming off the corner. So, yeah, this is one of those tracks that you can try a couple of different setups, and you're still going to kind of have the same characteristics with it. So it was just a matter of trying to manage the tires and the temperatures and things like that. So trying to hold Justin off early. I know I was holding him up a little bit, and once he fell back, I was just trying to save my stuff so I'd have something there at the end, and never really pushed it. I really appreciate the lap cars when we came up on them. They gave us a lot of room, and I was trying not to catch them because I know they're doing their own race and don't want to get involved in that.
By the way, when it comes to championship points, it is a 3-point separation now between you and Matthew Thunhorst. What's your approach going to be like for the next race? Because it is another race part of the Moonshine Challenge. And guess what? It's the paperclip.
Yeah, Martinsville's always a challenging place. You can be extremely fast and not finish well there. So just going to have to manage the race, see where we fall in line, and go from there. But pretty excited about the Moonshine Challenge deal. I think we're pretty decent in points there, and that's a really cool thing that Lowell and BRL has come up with, to have a championship throughout the year instead of just by season. So yeah, looking forward to that for sure.
Anyone you want to thank for the run tonight?
Yeah, just definitely thanks to the Bootleg Racing League and to Lowell for everything that he does that allows us to race on Friday and Saturday nights. It's a really great place to race, great group of guys, and everybody's fast here. They may have some bad nights, but everybody's extremely strong and hard to race with. So just appreciate that, and thanks to my team, Different Path Motorsports, and of course everything that you guys do at GSRC. Thank you guys for making us look good.
Congratulations on the victory tonight.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
J.R. Shepard, your race winner tonight from the Lanier Raceplex. Now your points leader after what has been an intriguing 8 races so far now is Matthew Thunhorst. He is your season leader in victories. He comes home second tonight. That gets him the opportunity to talk with Devin Henry.
Yeah, Thunhorst drives his way to P2 finish tonight at Lanier. A very long green flag run that was abbreviated, and then another long green flag run. But what did you need there at the end to catch up and make the move on J.R. Shepard for that win?
I think the biggest thing for me, Devin, was just I was starting to struggle after I got past Justin, then I hit on something, and I just found that too late. So, because I think JR had stretched it out there, and I was starting to close a little bit, but it was just too little too late. But tonight was a good learning experience. Got to deal with the car being a little bit looser than I typically like, but it's field did a good job tonight. We did a lot of green racing. It definitely wasn't the easiest set to drive. Needed a lot of discipline on throttle. Definitely wanted to oversteer a lot, but yeah.
Leading the way in the points, 3 races to go, and you have that slim margin in the tightest championship battle, at least in Grand National Series history. Looking forward at the rest of the season, what do you think that you need to do to bring home this Season 7 championship?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just going to be, at this point, with how kind of tight all that championship is, it's just probably who's going to win from here out. The wins kind of lead my favor at the end, and I'm able to fend people off. But if I sit there and finish second or third, that gives people opportunity. Like JR Justin catch up on me. So, it's kind of the idea of the best offense or best defense is a good offense, and just got to go out there and win. And I think whoever's better on that front is probably going to be a championship at the end of this season.
It has been a blast to watch you, Justin, and JR duke it out so far this season. Can't wait for these final 3 races of the year. But for now, who do you have to thank for landing back up here on the podium? Another top 2 finish, this time here at Lanier.
Yeah, I just want to thank Lowell and BRL. Also our league sponsor, Gargamel's Kitchen. I've been rather naughty and forgot to mention them the past couple of weeks, so I apologize for that. And I also want to thank you, Devin, Justin, and Sean, and the rest of the GSRC for bringing the broadcast to the folks tonight. So appreciate that as well. So thank you all.
It has been a blast to watch. Your points leader, Matthew Thunhorst, comes home second tonight. And your third place finisher, how about Austin Belke? Back on the podium, Justin.
Back-to-back, in fact, for Austin Belke. First things first, how are you feeling about the run tonight?
Yeah, hey, Justin. Yeah, I'm just as surprised as you guys are to be back up here 2 weeks in a row. Pretty special. The car was really loose today, a lot looser than I thought it would be, especially going into the corner. There was a lot more off-throttle oversteer than I figured there was going to be, so that was kind of weird to deal with, but it was all about not pushing the tires at all. Ever since the drop of the green flag, as much as I wanted to kind of stay to JR's inside and make sure I could kind of get out there first and control the race, I just really didn't want to push. And you saw it, like I think lap 3 or something. I just tried to go too far on the apron to cut underneath Lowell and got sideways, and JR and Justin got around me, so it was just all about not pushing.
Now, curious on this, when you started to see Justin Morton drifting back and back and back towards your direction, what was your reaction like in the car seeing Morton fall almost right into your lap for that third spot?
Well, I mean, he's a friend, so you hate to see him having trouble, but at the same time, you're a race car driver, so any spot is a spot. So once I saw him kind of drift in and I could see his wheels, instead of being pointed to the left, to keep going through the corner, they were pointed to the right, and he was kind of drifting. I was kind of licking my chops there, hoping we wouldn't get a caution until I could at least get underneath of him, because I could tell I was rolling the corner a lot better than he was, but he was really good all night, and he always is at getting his car up off the corner. It just probably his dirt track experience, but he's one of the best at getting off of it, so I was kind of salivating there.
Indeed, a strong finish for you tonight. And now the big question is your approach for Martinsville next.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. In the past, I've been fast at Martinsville, but not fast enough to keep with like JR, Justin, and Matt. I know last season I was kind of flirting with third and fourth for a while, and then every time there'd be a green flag run, they just kind of skirt away from me on the long run. So I'm not sure. It definitely going to have to be another race about tire conservation. Hopefully the car is a bit looser in the center so we can rotate it more. Traditionally, the car's been pretty evil on the exit of the corner. Just they'll be so tight in the center, and then you go to exit and they'll just unload and get real loose. So we'll see. It'll be a fun challenge for sure.
Anyone you want to thank for the run tonight?
Yeah, tons of people. Again, my parents, the good Lord, Lowell, for putting on this great league. Everybody here is so much fun to race with. All night, just have a blast on Fridays, every other, and then Saturdays. It's always fun to race with these guys. JR, he's taught me a lot, continues to teach me. The team Different Path Motorsports. I got to give a shout out to Kenny. I was talking to him on Xbox earlier today, and he told me how to get around Lanier, and I guess it stuck because we were fast today. Not Kenny Kibbe fast or JR fast, but faster. You guys for bringing our talents to the fans. I always love watching the broadcast, especially your commentating. And Devin is super good at this too, and Sean up in the booth always does a great job. Gargamel's Kitchen, they're a great partner for us. I love having them on board the series so much, and it's just great to have a premier partner like them to pair up with.
Thank you for the time, Austin.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Austin Belke rounding out your top three tonight. I'd like to thank him, Matthew Thunhorst, and J.R. Shepard for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage tonight here from the Lanier Raceplex. Now, Devin, your final thoughts on how things played out tonight, because it was definitely a bottom-driven race when it came to the corners, but in the end, J.R. Shepard saved the tires the best.
Yeah, and it turned into a pace-based race. I mean, once they started to really get drawn out, it was hard to find that next car, make the move. The outside was usable, but first you had to find the bumper of the guy in front of you, which too many drivers just couldn't find tonight in those long runs. But looking forward, we have an insane points battle. It's 3 points between the top two. And then you have Justin Morton. You know, when it's a three-car battle for the championship and every spot is 1 point, to not finish on the podium is definitely a downfall. But you need to remember, Justin Morton, a former winner at Martinsville, if that 9 machine can go out and win next week, that automatically not only puts him back in the conversation, which, I mean, he's not out of it, but it puts him back, you know, towards the top. He has an ability to now win that championship with a win next week, and can completely make J.R. Shepard and Matthew Thunhorst have to dig even deeper the final 2 weeks. It is not a 2-car battle, guys. It is a 3-car battle for this championship over the next 3 weeks.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be busy. The question's going to be, who will be able to live up to the challenge? We'll find out over the next few weeks. On that note, we'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's exciting action from the virtual Lanier Raceplex. We'd also like to thank Bootleg Racing League for organizing this exciting series and its title sponsor, Gargamel's Kitchen. We'd also like to take the time to thank the companies who provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. With additional thanks to Jude LeWarn, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of our great work. Thanks to the team today in Devin, Sean, and Donkey. Find out more about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or to our social media listed on screen. Also, be sure to check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. Link in the description. YouTube version of our broadcast below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as hit the notification bell so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next time out, as described, it is another edition of the Moonshine Challenge as we head to the Paperclip, Martinsville Speedway. Now take place again August 28th. Coverage starts at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time. Green flag scheduled for approximately 9 p.m. Eastern Time here on Global SimRacing Channel. We also have the upcoming races for other series listed on screen, so make sure to check those out and mark them down in your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.